It's June 21. Ukraine Media Center, Ukraine Forum continues its operation. My name is Svetlana Cheparenko. Now we will find out about the situation in the south of Ukraine and Black Sea region. Joining us online is Natalia Humeniuk, head of the United Coordinating Press Center on Security of Defense Forces of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Miss Natalia. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Miss Natalia, we see some moderately positive news from the front lines. The armed forces are moving in the southern direction. Can you share any details about the situation in the front lines in the southern area? I understand the increased interest in the positive news, but to have them formulated, we need a little bit more time. We already reported enough positive news that we were able to get about the success of the armed forces of Ukraine in the southern regions, but first we need to wait until the possibility of posting any news about the advancements of the armed forces of Ukraine in Dnipro region comparing to the Zaporizhia region. The activities of the security and defense forces is a little bit slower in terms of geographical advancement. However, there is an increased activity of counter battery fire. We continue destroy the enemy positions as the water level is subsiding. The enemy created the environmental catastrophe that affected their positions as well. They have to update the maps of the minefields that they created as the determined measure from the advances of the Ukrainian armed forces, but the water changed the geographical locations of the minefields. Still, the enemy tries to intensify the shellings, and we documented 75 shellings. So we're getting back to the indicators that were existing before the creation of environmental catastrophe. And if they were forced to withdraw up to 15 kilometers in certain areas and to decrease the intensity of fire after the water level went up, now they're getting back to the same intensity level. Well, now that you've touched upon the matter of the environmental catastrophe in Kakhovka, can you please tell us about the situation in that area? Well, the consequences are critical, and we will continue finalizing the situation for a long time. The evacuation is still underway in the West Bank. In the East Bank, the situation is even way worse because it's under the occupation still. However, the defense forces try to provide support to the civilians over there. And all those operations are obviously going on in the regime of information silence, because those which were already covered by the mass media were characterized by the intense shelling of the occupiers. They were shooting people actually in the back, even when the representatives of their units were rescued. Obviously, those people were taken as prisoners of war, but they were shooting their own people in the back again, so they don't survive and don't end up as the prisoners. So what is the humanitarian situation in the region? Are all the basic needs of the population covered? All the basic needs are under control, the aid is being provided, and the local governments organize the coordination headquarters which redistributes the aid incoming from the volunteers, charity organizations, and just regular citizens of Ukraine. Definitely there is a need for some specific things, so first you have to double check it before you express your goodwill. Again, you better double check with the regional government what kind of aid is necessary in which region, because now those needs are a little bit different compared to those days that existed during the first days of the mitigation of the catastrophe. Now there are a lot of works on clearing, demining the territories due to the increase of the water level, which brought some random mines and washed them ashore. So again, before you want to provide some aid, please double check with the local government. Generally, the humanitarian situation in the West Bank is under control of the local government, and in the East Bank the situation is really difficult. In some settlement, I would call it critical, because there are problems with potable water and generally with the presence of water, because the consequences of this catastrophe in the occupied territories can be calculated only later. There will be a lot of casualties probably, which will affect the environmental situation as well. Thank you, dear colleagues. Do we have any questions on the floor? Good afternoon, Ukrinform, Natalia Malchanova. My first question is about the mine hazard. The water from Kakhovka HPP washed all those mines down to the Black Sea. Do you document the areas where those mines are in mass concentration, and did you document any cases of those mines being brought or washed ashore of other countries? We don't know so far about the other countries, but we have the documented cases of explosion, of random explosion of those mines as they were flowing along the riverbed or downstream of Dnipro. In Mykolaiv and Odessa regions, there were 9 documented cases of mines washed ashore. Not all of them, unfortunately, were detonated in a controlled manner. Unfortunately, some of them exploded upon collision with some objects in the water and with the shore. Fortunately, it did not result in any casualties, but still the mine hazard is still high, because there is a number of piles of trash which may contain such mines still flowing downstream of Dnipro. So we keep talking that the mine hazard in the shores grew multifold, and the local governments try to restrict the access to the coast, not to put people in danger. Thank you very much. Another question, if it's within your competence, there was information that the occupiers tried to mine Crimean Titan industrial facilities in Crimea. Maybe there is some intelligence about the situation there. And do we observe the people from adjacent areas leave the territory? Well, we don't observe any organized evacuation, but we observe cases of groups of people leaving in terms of caring about their security at their own discretion. Many people who learned the experience from the 2018, where there were chemical emissions from that industrial facility, so people tried to live to the areas remote from that facility. The situation is being tracked by us as to the inflow of explosives there, the activities of the occupational troops around that facility, and it may be another link in the chain of technogenic blackmailing that the enemy is using. So we rely upon the support of international community, who would be able to influence the military command and the top level government officials of the aggressor country, because the first who will be mostly damaged by any technogenic catastrophe will be the troops of the enemy itself. And talking about the blackmailing and making the Kakhovka catastrophe as an example, it was of the local nature. In case of a technogenic catastrophe on Crimean Titan facility, the area of damage will cover the territory of Moldova and Turkey as well, which should result in increase of international pressure on Russia. Thank you very much for the comprehensive answers. I'm reminding you, joining us was Natalia Humeniuk, the head of the United Coordinating Press Center of Security and Defense Forces, and at 12:30 we will be talking about attack of the Shahed drones on Lviv, and joining us in live will be Andrei Hodik, the military governor of Lviv region. Stay tuned.